So Jethro Tull's Curious Ruminant is a reference so wild it changes how you hear the whole album. Now this isn't just music, it's a cipher. Jethro Tull's latest album then might just be the most thought-provoking and reflective work from Ian Anderson and his band in years, and that's saying a lot when you consider the depth of their history. The title itself, a curious choice, immediately sets the tone for what's to come. But to truly understand the album, you first have to consider what the title actually represents, and it's far more than just a simple name. It's a key to the thematic puzzle that Anderson has carefully crafted. And once you sort of see that, the layers of meaning across the album become really much more apparent. First, let's acknowledge the incredible pace at which Jethro Tull have been releasing albums over the past few years. Now, following the release of The Zealot Gene in 2022, Rock Float in 2023, and now Curious Ruminant in 2025, Anderson and his core band, David Goodyear, John O'Hara, Scott Hammond, and newcomer guitarist Jack Clark have really been putting out the music at a frequency that even younger bands will really struggle to match. Fair play to them. And that's impressive on its own. But in many ways, this era of Tull has captured the same relentless output as their 1970s heyday, when really an album seemed to appear every year. Yet, unlike those earlier albums, Anderson's recent work has shown a more reflective, a more meditative side, with themes ranging from biblical references to Norse mythology, and in Curious Ruminant, deep contemplations on change, loss, and the passage of time. Now, in terms of sound, it continues the approach of its two predecessors. It's relatively unpolished. There's plenty of room for the music to breathe in. The album's mood is mellow overall, but it's not without its sharp, unexpected moments. Both musically and lyrically. Let's start with the opening track, a great place to start. Puppet and the Puppet Master.
Holding court on a blackboard stage, dangling from the strings.
Now, from the very start of this one, we hear Anderson's trademark flute cutting through a blend of acoustic guitars and rhythmic, almost driving beat to it. And if you listen closely to the lyrics, the tracks seem to explore the dynamic of the performer as both the puppet and the puppet master, a theme that feels particularly fitting for Anderson, who's a man who's been captivating audiences really now for decades. But in this piece, Anderson seems to be reflecting on the tensions between being a musician who entertains and being a musician who, perhaps unintentionally, is bound by the very expectations his audience has of him. Makes sense. The track's jaunty melody might pull you in one direction, but then there's a complexity in the lyrics that demands your attention. And then we come to the title track, which brings us face to face with Anderson's internal dialogue on curiosity, uncertainty, and self-reflection. Now, the music is distinctly Tull, piano-led with a folk-infused cadence, but the lyrics are perhaps more intimate, more self-aware than perhaps usual. Anderson talks about constantly questioning, really never settling, and changing one's mind. It's an experience that many of us share, but really few artists articulate with such nuance. Here, though, it's Anderson's vocals that have evolved over the years, and he's settled into a style that's really part spoken, part sung, which really suits the mood of the album perfectly. It's a style that speaks directly to where he is in life. He's still searching, he's still thinking, he's still writing, but without that frantic energy of his younger days.
Midst the gathering gloom, my ghostly whisper, cogito ergo.
Now, one track that stands out for its thematic depth is Dunsinane Hill. Now, if the title doesn't immediately clue you in, this is a track that ties to Shakespeare's Macbeth, and by extension, it brings in the shadowy world of politics and ambition. Now, Anderson's Scottish heritage here shines through both in the lyrics and the mood of the music, which again is dominated by flute, but also drenched in a kind of, well, foreboding atmosphere in many respects. The piece is part recitation, it's part song, and it's a haunting exploration of the human condition. It's showcasing Anderson's ability to blend history with personal reflection. But the album isn't all heavy themes. The Tipu House track, for argument, brings a bit of a folksy charm to the mix.
Oh, God's children play in that toxic city garden, stealing.
While Savannah of Paddington Green sees Anderson returning to the themes of climate change.
On the urban savannah of Paddington Green.
Something really he's addressed in earlier works like Stormwatch. But the band's commitment to environmental issues remains steadfast, and this track's folk-driven melodies feel just like a nod to the band's earlier, more acoustic roots.
Than green.
However, it's the epic track Drink from the Same Well that will undoubtedly make prog fans sit up and take notice. Spanning over 15 minutes, it takes the listener through a musical odyssey that encompasses jazz, folk, rock, and even Eastern influences in places. The piece draws inspiration from a series of instrumentals that Tull performed live really over 20 years ago, as well as music created for the Indian Bansuri flautist Horapsad Chaurisia. The track's shifty tempos, melodic themes, and intricate arrangements really are a testament to Tull's continued ability to innovate with their own established sound. It's ambitious and at times absolutely breathtaking. The album closes with Interim Sleep. Now, this is a tender, reflective piece about loss and the passing of a loved one.
When interim sleep takes me, I want you close beside. No tears, no...
It's quiet, it's almost mournful, and it provides a fitting end, really, to an album that has delved deep into themes of change and contemplation. Now, there is a sense of finality here, it has to be said, a quiet acceptance, as if Anderson himself is offering a musical farewell, both to the listener and perhaps to an era of his life. It's a beautiful, melancholic conclusion to what is undeniably a thoughtful album. So, is there a hidden meaning to Curious Ruminant? Well, absolutely. The album, it's filled with layers of lyrical and musical complexity, each song offering its own puzzle to solve. But it's not just about intellectualizing the music, oh no. Anderson's songs still carry the same sense of wonder and of trying to make sense of the world. of examining those small moments that shape our existence. Now, if anything, this album demonstrates that even after all these years, Ian Anderson remains as curious as ever. And Curious Ruminant is perhaps the most cohesive of the 3 albums that Jethro Tull have released in these last few years. It has that depth that will likely appeal to long-time fans, and there's plenty here for new listeners to latch onto as well. Anderson's flute playing is as exceptional as it's ever been, and the band's musicianship shines throughout. Yet, what makes this album truly special is the way that it balances the introspective with the accessible. Now, the themes, whilst profound, never really get too heavy or overwhelming, and the music, whilst intricate, never loses its sense of melody or playfulness. In many ways, I think this album feels like a reflection of Anderson himself, older, wiser, but still very much at the top of his game. Curious Ruminant is an album that begs to be listened to analysed, and to be reflected upon. And much like its title, the deeper you look, the more you'll find. Now, whilst this current incarnation of Jethro Tull may not be to everyone's liking, the first of these 3 most recent albums, The Zealot Gene, was an album I did a full review of, and that video is the one I want you to watch next, and I'll see you over there.